the world of tennis just blew up. Additionally, I'm not trying to sound theatrical when I say that. The events of the past 48 hours will rank among the most startling controversies throughout the whole history of professional tennis player. We are discussing a punishment that ends one's career, a stolen triumph, and a Filipino teenager superstar who is going to do injustice into the gasoline, which propels her directly into immortality in tennis. At this moment, as this is a veteran chair that you are reading, umpire having more than 15 years of experience, Grand Slam officiating has been outright prohibited from professional tennis. Not fined, not suspended, prohibited, completed, career ended, and the why she was discovered to have stolen a score. Alex's potential, the pride of the Philippines and among the most intelligent young players in today's women's tennis. I'll repeat that because it sounds utterly crazy. An expert chair umpire, a person you can rely on to uphold the sport's hallowed integrity, intentionally stole from a 20-year-old athlete of her gold medal opportunity. Moreover, now, following a shocking investigation, the International Tennis Federation, as well as the WTA, has imposed the most severe punishment ever imposed on an official in history of contemporary tennis. However, this is where the narrative becomes even more amazing. Rather of sobbing about it on social media, rather than holding a public, throwing a fit or calling for justice via. Alex Eala posted angry pictures on Instagram, a characteristic that distinguishes champions from everyone else. She stopped talking, placed her, returned to the practice with my head down, court, and began to win competitions. Committees discussed, while investigators looked at the video, but the tennis community gradually became aware of the scandal. Alex has already taken 3 steps, moving forward, turning her rage into ammunition. Now, with the official verdict rendered and her name exonerated, Alex Eala will soon set out on the most crucial 2 weeks in her professional life. She will first participate in the historic WTA 125 Women's Open in the Philippines. The WTA's inaugural competition took place on dirt from the Philippines. Then, right away, she takes a plane to Abu Dhabi to confront the highest level of women's tennis at the WTA 500, where she will compete against, featuring Olympic gold and Grand Slam winners, medal winners, as well as some of the most hazardous actors in the world. The question that everyone is currently asking is easy. Is Alex Eala able to turn this incident around into the instant that propels her into the top 20 in the world? Can she make use of the fire of unfairness to burn through the competition and make a global announcement? She is not merely a victim of a dishonest system but a fighter who, unwilling to stop? Fasten your seatbelts, as this tale has everything: corruption, atonement, global dispute, as well as an athlete who has icer veins and is going to demonstrate your ability to steal her points, but her destiny cannot be stolen. Let's get going from the start in order to comprehend just how big of a scandal this is. You must be aware of who we are discussing and what transpired. The name sending shockwaves through each and every tennis federation, each Grand Slam organizing group, as well as each sports. The world's integrity board is oral. True. For individuals who are not familiar with the complex. In the realm of tennis refereeing, Trude was a significant. She wasn't a newbie leaving the umpire school. She had been seated in the chair at the Australian Open, the French Open, as well as other significant WTA events, all throughout the world. She had a CV lengthier than the majority of players' careers, with more than 15 years of officiating experience at the sport's highest levels. That's precisely why this scandal is so just astounding. This was no insignificant official at a local competition makes a poor decision. This individual was a veteran who was trusted by the organizations that oversee sports to maintain equity in the most crucial games worldwide. Additionally, based on the formal inquiry that was just days ago, that confidence was totally betrayed. The WTA and ITF didn't hold back when their declaration. They didn't employ soft terminology such as officiating error or contentious choice. They made use of a phrase that ought to give you the chills. Anyone who likes fair rivalry, theft of a score, chance, not an error or a poor decision, stealing. The word choice is intentional and it's terrible. It indicates that following a review of the match, audio recordings, video, and interviewing people, the ruling bodies came to the conclusion that what transpired couldn't be dismissed as human mistake. This was either deliberate or misbehavior or prejudice so extreme that it exceeded the threshold for fraudulent actions. Let me put this in perspective for you. Throughout the entire contemporary age of, we've seen professional tennis officials who argue are disciplined with participants. They have been penalized for errors. We've seen them in silence, reallocated following contentious calls. However, never, and I mean never, has an experienced chair umpire made public appearances, found guilty of dishonest behavior in relation to match scoring, and entirely prohibited from participating in the sport. This is extraordinary. It's historic. This disrupts the fundamental basis of what gives legitimacy to sports, the conviction that the rules are fair and the game is equally enforced. And now for the part that adds even more depth to this tale. Devastating. In spite of the inquiry, in spite of the evidence, in spite of the historic punishment, gave the original match to Trude. The outcome remains unchanged. Officially, Alex Eala is still listed as having been defeated in that game. However, the truth is known to everyone on the planet. She didn't lose as she wasn't worthy. She lost because the individual in charge of a fair fight was actively pursued against her. What, then, really took place? Let's revisit that tragic day, because this match's specifics are utterly frustrating. The scene was competition for the gold medal at the 33rd. Thailand will host the Southeast Asian Games this after December. Alex Eala, the 49th ranked player in the WTA rankings and carrying the aspirations of the whole Philippines on her shoulders, was competing against an American athlete, Alicia Parks, a gifted young woman with significant potential. The game was fierce. From the first serve, both participants were going all out, hitting huge, trading momentum and baseline winners, back and forth in a close contest. Then the turning point arrived. Everything. In the latter part of the second set, Alex, keeping a lead ready to shatter her opponent's serve at a crucial point, she made a shot that was obviously successful. Within the queue, thousands of onlookers saw it at the stadium television. It was captured by cameras. Replays in slow motion later verified it beyond a reasonable doubt. Uncertainty. The ball struck the line. It was inside. However, Orally Tudd, perched high in her chair with final say over, it called out the match. Alex challenged right away. She was aware of the ball was good. She requested a Hawkeye examine the automated phone call technology that is now commonplace at large competitions specifically to avoid these types of disputes. However, here's where the narrative shifts from annoying to completely crazy. The games at sea, in contrast to Grand Slam competitions, doesn't have deployed Hawkeye technology. The ultimate authority for cue calls is completely with the chair umpire. Additionally, Tro refused to take her call back. But hold on, things get worse. Based on thorough reports submitted by Alex's coaching staff and confirmed by independent observers, that wasn't the only dubious call during the game. 3 or 4 other contentious line calls made during the match. They are all opposing Alex, and all of them taking place at pivotal moments when momentum could have swung firmly in her favor. 1. A contentious call could be unlucky. 2 might be a coincidence. However, 4 calls at crucial times, all in favor of the same individual. At that point, coincidence begins to resemble a pattern. Additionally, when the ITF initiates an inquiry and determines that a chance to score was stolen, it is evident that they discovered proof that this was not an accident. For a moment, imagine yourself in Alex Eala's position. You are 20 years old. You've spent all of your early and teenage years of preparation for times like this. You are attempting to bring your nation's first tennis gold medal, signifying 110 million Filipinos who are keeping an eye on you and praying that achieve success. You've spent the entire year preparing, gave up everything. Next, in the most important game of your life, the one, someone whose responsibility it is to guarantee justice, deliberately undermines your chances. That's not only is that unfair but annoying. That is a total betrayal of all that sports are meant to represent. Here's what makes Alex Eala's reaction to this circumstance so incredibly strategic and mature. She was fully aware of what would occur if she, on the court, she became agitated. If she had called out to the referee, if she had allowed her to throw her racket. In that instant, feelings explode. The narrative would have changed right away. It would have resulted in a young player losing emotional regulation in place of an umpire engages in deception. The story would have been more about her actions than the injustice she was going through. Thus, Alex took an amazing action. Challenging. She held back her anger. She remained composed. She concluded the game with dignity and she employed a long-term strategy, believing that the truth would eventually emerge. And now, months later, she's been fully justified. That type of strategic and emotional intelligence. A 20-year-old's perspective is incredibly amazing. However, let's zoom in. Take a moment to discuss why this scandal is more than just Alex's specific instance, since this relates to a far more significant issue in the workplace. Tennis that no one wants to discuss in public. Tennis has a significant issue of transparency in relation to officiating. For many years, we have observed numerous contentious choices are made out on the biggest sports arenas. Serena Williams has been punished a whole match at the US Open in 2018 for racket abuse and coaching infractions. A Punishment that directly lost